Hi everyone, I'm Angie Mitchell and I get to share with you a little bit about who I am. So I am Mexican American, that's how I prefer to identify. In the last few years, Latinx has become a popular term, and I know that it's a gender neutral term. But as for me, I like to be identified as Mexican American. My parents are Mexican. They came to this country in the 70s. They settled in Los Angeles, California, and that's where I was born and raised. I lived in a predominantly Latino community, and my dad worked at a cannery, my mom stayed home. And thinking back, we probably would have been considered poor, but I didn't feel poor. We had a roof over our heads, always had food. I remember actually going to a local food pantry. Like, I know what that's called now. You know, I ate that good government cheese. But again, simple living, but my parents were so resourceful, and now being a parent and having two children, I'm like, how did they do it? But they did. They were just hardworking, they were resourceful, and they were always there for us. Both my parents did not finish their education. I think my dad may have gone as high as maybe 6th grade, and my mom somewhere around there as well. So they would have loved to finish school, but my dad lost his mom when he was young. He was a preteen, and my mom lived with her mom, and mom was a single mom, grandma was a single mom with many children. And so my mom shares that she had to support and had to help, and her older brother used to help my abuela, grandmother, sell food. And so that same grit and courage and all of that, I mean, just from their upbringing, came with them to the States. And so I'm just grateful for what they did and their sacrifices and their courage, because they really paved a way. Even though they didn't know, they made it possible for my sisters and I to have an upbringing and access to things that they didn't have when they were children. And I'm really proud to say that my sisters and I, there's 3 of us, that we all went to university. And that alone is such a grace when I think about the odds that were against us. And it's by God's grace that He enabled all of us to go to college. Now, one memory that I have that I always have to share with people, I went from LA, California to Greencastle, Indiana. And I just remember there were all these things that transpired, and I was so afraid not to go to college because I felt like I was there, and if I didn't go, God only knew if I was ever going to be able to go to college. And so my mom and dad, especially my mom, I have to say shout out to my mom because she is a hustler. My mom was at that point traveling to Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico, to buy dried shrimp, or to buy fresh shrimp, or to buy Mexican cheese that is basically like big blocks. She would bring that here to the States to sell so that she could save money to send to me and to support me. And so I just think about, she didn't know anything about college, and she didn't know what or how, but she just did so much to support us and to love on us. And she did the same for my sisters. And so just so grateful for that. And just so happy and proud to be who I am, to be Mexican, to celebrate my heritage, and in my career to have had the opportunity to serve. Just grateful for all my experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and overall, just it's been so good. And I've, as a teacher, had the privilege of teaching other brown children. And now even here in St. Charles, Missouri, who would have thought that they would have ELL teachers? So now I'm a language teacher. So I support our second language learners, not just Spanish speaking. We in the district have students that are French and Russian and Korean. I mean, it's amazing. It's like, well, why'd y'all come to St. Charles, Missouri? But hey, it's the same reason why my parents came to Los Angeles, California. So just grateful to now be at a place where I can be a bridge. And God has allowed me the ability to come in and out of different groups. Even growing up, elementary was pretty much Mexican. Maybe black sprinkled here and there, but mostly Mexican, Latinos. Then middle school, that's really when I started to be around like Pacific Islanders and Filipino and way more ethnic groups. Still not many whites then. It wasn't until I went to Greencastle, Indiana, when I was predominantly around white brothers and sisters. And then all the brown and black folk. It was just a handful of us, and so we kind of just gravitated. But it's been interesting, just even through high school, there were a lot of like brown versus black. There were riots, probably even more once I left high school. And so my school and my neighborhood gangs, so there was a whole Latino brown on brown type of violence. But still, in the midst of all the chaos, a lot of good, a lot of hardworking people, a lot of men and women with goals and grit and desire to do good for the community. And so I'm excited even now being here, seeing people who are being faithful to building and supporting others in the neighborhood. You know, we are a diverse people. One thing some of you may have said or thought this, because I've heard it said to me before, it's like, wow, you don't look Mexican. You know, I'm pretty fair skinned, but we come in all shades, and I have family who is darker than me, some that is lighter, some that have green eyes, you know, and so that's the richness of our culture, is that we come in all shades. And it's like any other group where it's complex. I like how in this season I've heard our pastors, and in conversations I've had with people, it's very complex. You know, right now we're talking about dynamics between ethnic groups, but there are interesting and complex dynamics even within ethnic groups. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.